Hey my fellow ink drinkers, welcome to Dark Violet Dreams, where I share my love of books, movies, and other deliciously dark delights. Today I'm sharing part of my ebook indie collection. I kind of skimmed through my Kindle and became very overwhelmed because there are a lot of books that I downloaded recently. There were a few events where you could download free or inexpensive ebooks. I went a little hog wild. I will link a video at the end of this one or in the description box of a semi-recent haul of ebooks that I downloaded that were thrillers and horror and just generally dark books. And so you'll see a couple of those on this list, but I had to kind of whittle it down. I was kind of bummed because there are some missing from my Kindle. I could not find them, and I know that I owned them, so I'm not sure what happened to them. So I decided to go with 50-ish books. I'm talking about some that I've read and some that I have yet to read, and I've got a couple current reads. Let's dive in to the books I've read. The first on the list is The Clairvoyant by E.C. Hanson. E.C. Hanson is one of my favorite indie authors. He has a lot of books out there, and he does not just stick to the horror genre. He's actually got some westerns out there, and he's amazing. I love his style of writing. You can read through his books quickly, but the first, The Clairvoyant. What's worse than having no friends? Having a father re-enter the dating world after a decade of being single. Sutton Frost wants to be a typical high schooler, but her supernatural ability to see flashes of the future make her a social outcast. After receiving a barrage of random visions, she soon discovers they all add up to something tragic. This is a spin-off novella from his debut collection, which was absolutely wonderful as well. That's one of those that is missing from my Kindle. That one was awesome. Up next is Mothman Haze. This woman has to return home because her nephew has gone missing. Her father is convinced that the Mothman snatched him up outside of his daycare center. So she's trying to kind of reconnect with her mother, and she's wondering what the heck is going on with her father and his wild ideas. And it's a lot of fun, and it's dark, and there are parts that really got under my skin as a mother, and I think this may be, after Wicked Blood, this may be my favorite of E.C. Hanson's. The next book is a collaboration with Mark Towse. So E.C. Hanson, Mark Towse wrote this book together. It was so much fun, a lot darker than I expected it to be, but I really enjoyed it. It's a perfect quick read for the Halloween season, or if you like to read these sorts of things like I do year-round, grab yourself a copy. Hallows Eve. Lavish decorations adorn overly large houses with bags of expensive half-eaten candy and stuffed pantries ready to be served. But one home down Fox Run Lane remains unlit, its occupiers settling into the usual evening of awkward silence, punctuated with spiteful chatter. A knock at the door changes everything, subsequent events shaking their fragile little lives to the core, all secrets spilling to now hallowed ground. There'll be no candy, only regrets and buckets of blood. The next book I'd like to highlight was a book written by Mark Towse. It's another excellent book. I think that my favorite of Mark Towse's would be The Crows, for many reasons, but I enjoyed every single one of his books. He has a great sense of humor, and he really packs a punch in his stories, whether they're short or longer. A northern town in England. It smells, prospects are grim, and the sun never shines. Each day blends into the next, and residents have settled into a resentful acceptance, assuming things cannot get any worse. So when the sky starts raining blood and a sinkhole appears in the middle of the main road, spitting out demons from their past, you can forgive them for being a little pissed. The next book is called The Gentleman's Choice, and I gave this 3 stars, but I definitely recommend it to those who are super into this sort of book. It's very dark, and I enjoyed it. It just isn't my typical read. So I'd like to highlight it anyway. It was an interesting idea, very creative, and the writing was awesome. A sleazy internet dating show blamed for a viewer's death, a host with a dark secret past, and a killer with a sadistic grudge. Someone is kidnapping and murdering previous contestants from the popular streaming show The Gentleman's Choice, a strictly for adults hybrid of The Bachelor and Love Island. Private investigator Vanessa Young is hired by a victim's family to infiltrate the show as a contestant to expose and capture the killer. I'll keep it there, but that was definitely interesting. And if you like those types of shows and you want it to be a little spicier, this is definitely the book for you. The next book I'd like to talk about is more of a sci-fi, and it was a lot of fun. I gave it 4 stars. It's called Jane Doe by Griffin Peterson. I absolutely love this cover, and it was a fun and interesting idea, and I believe she is working on another book to kind of add to the story. So I am excited to dive into that when it is released. Web designer Sam inadvertently stumbles into a mystery when women, expectant mothers, go missing throughout the neighborhood. Bright lights seen in the sky are the only harbingers, and they are gone without a trace. But the danger hits too close to home when Sam's next-door neighbor is caught in the mystery. Even Sam has experienced changes connected to all the strange events. As the mystery begins to spread, Sam and his friends begin to see the pattern and the otherworldly danger posed by those responsible. But the question remains, why is this happening? The next story is called Naked and Famous. It's a novelette by Elizabeth Broadbent, and it is kind of a cryptid hoax trope. Lots of fun. So if you're looking for something like that, it's a great summer read. 16-year-olds Harlan, Brooks, and Don't Call Me Tiffany Sue, T.S., have zilch to do during their summer in a podunk southern swamp town. T.S., who'd give a lesser toe or maybe pose in Playboy to escape, hits on an idea. If a bad tabloid can play cut and paste with Bigfoot photos, why can't they serve up the real thing? But as sightings spiral out of control, Brooks finds himself playing her fake boyfriend and wishing he were the real thing. When money doesn't rain down as planned, Harlan begins to have doubts, but Brooks is crushing hard, and T.S. still wants more. The next book is a longer one, coming in at 515 pages, but it is well worth the read. And if you're hesitant to dive into something so long, he has made it an option to get the first chapter on your Kindle as well. So it is called The Animal by Chad Nicholas, and Party at Kelly's is the first chapter, and that is also an ebook option if you'd rather just sample it, and it works well on its own, I have to say. But overall, this was a great read. I gave it 5 stars. Let me tell you what it's about. It came from the forest one night. In the light of a full moon, it slaughtered 17 people in their homes, leaving nothing but death in its path. Only one person saw its true face and survived. An 8-year-old girl named Riley, found hiding underneath her bed, covered in blood, scared of a monster. Now, 25 years later, it's happening again. A young girl is attacked in her home, forced to watch as her friends are slaughtered before her eyes by a monster wearing the mask of a wolf. Or at least, she prayed it was a mask. As the body count rises and the predator grows more violent, Riley is drawn back into the nightmare, forced to confront the horrifying monster she first witnessed all those years ago, surrounded by friends she cannot trust and the wolves she cannot see. A scarred survivor, a group of hunted teenagers, and a sprawling forest full of wolves are brought together in this terrifying slasher where only one thing is known for certain. The animal has returned, and everyone's a suspect. The next book I'd like to highlight is a collection of short horror stories by A.W. Mason called A Haunt of Travels. I'm not going to read about each of these, but you can look it up on Goodreads or Amazon or wherever. Immerse yourself in terror and suspense with these stories and more as each turn of the page drives you deeper into an expedition of fear. Take a journey through a haunt of travels. This was really good. Gave it 4 stars. Love the cover, and I think it's a great collection of stories. It's very rare that I give a collection of stories 5 stars, but this almost got 5 stars. I think I just kind of averaged everything out, and it was awesome. There's a good selection, wide variety here, something for everybody. The next few I'd like to just kind of fly through because I talk about Brittany Johnson a lot. And I read 3 of her novellas, short stories, rather quickly. And so I'm going to just keep it brief. The titles kind of say it all. So the first is Ladybugs in November. Absolutely loved this. It's great to read any time of year. Don't let the November fool you. It's a great read any time of year. The second is Maneater. Enough said. And the third is TeleExorcist. Brittany is an amazing writer. One of my all-time favorite books was written by Brittany, and it is called Mississippi Blue, and I talked about that in my physical copy indie book collection. So if you want to check that out, you can, and I will probably talk about it again, so fair warning. Okay, the next one is by Reyes. Now, I have so many of his books on my list to be read, but I grabbed this one around Christmas time. I don't know if it was for a readathon or what, but I felt compelled to read it. It is called Christmas in the Empty Cabin, a collection of supernatural and horror stories for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and other holidays. So it is a great read for the holiday season, especially for you fellow horror lovers. Next book I want to highlight is one of my favorites. I absolutely loved it, gave it 5 stars. It is called Blessed Skeletons by Robert Weaver. After 10 years in exile, a former judge is invited back to his hometown to help solve an occult murder committed by a killer thought to be the ghost of a hanged man. Light a candle and enter a snowy Gothic world set along the southeastern coast of England. And there are some amazing illustrations in there by this person. Highly recommend. It is wonderful. The next book was another 5-star read for me. It's called How I Killed the Universal Man by Thomas Kendall. John Lakerman, alternative current affairs journalist for Donkey Wolf Media, is sent to participate and report in a clinical trial for a newly developed biopharmaceutical antidepressant. When researching the article and the disappearances of its lead researcher, Lakerman is drawn into a complex world of body augmentations, migrant labor, billionaires, a virtual reality game, and a series of fatally seductive mutations. I'm gonna leave it there. This was amazing. There's a lot going on. If you like to read books that have a lot going on, this is the book for you. He has amazing prose. I talked about one of his books in my last video, so check that out if you'd like to learn more about his writing, but I highly recommend Thomas Kendall. The next is a novelette that I also gave 5 stars. Seeing a trend here. Not everything I share here get 5 stars. I'm just kind of sharing what I could find on my Kindle, and then those that I'm somewhat familiar with that I haven't read yet. So anyway, the next one is called Shsskish, a novelette by Alana Drex. She wrote the squirrel horror with A.W. Mason called The Scampering, and she also wrote Sleeping Celeste. Winslow doesn't appear on any maps. It lies down a certain cemetery road hidden past a grove of trees, but that doesn't stop Tara and Nathan from finding it one fateful spring day in 2006, an unfortunate pit stop on the way to their new life. Yet nature's song sings sweetly here, and the quaint atmosphere and sights seem to speak to a simpler time. But what the couple can't see is the struggle and strife its townies endure in maintaining this time capsule of a town. And while they never ask to find out any of those finer details, they are set on a collision course, rocketing towards something that could prove to be as deadly as it is dark. Excellent, excellent novelette by Alana Drex. Highly recommend. It's a quick read. It's only 127 pages. The next one is Hello Dove by Gillian Dowell, my all-time favorite book. Thank you very much. And I talked about it in my last video when I shared my paperbacks. I originally grabbed Hello Dove as a Kindle, as an ebook, and fell in love with it so much that I bought the paperback so I could hug it. And I'm going to read it time and time again. Absolutely love it. Most relatable book I've ever read. Love it. Up next is The Secret of the Woods. It's a Sleeping Beauty retelling. This is the third book in the Forbidden Fables collection by Savvy Rose. This is spicy. This is kind of dark. It's got a lot going in here. There's like goddesses and vampires and all sorts of things happening. Priests. It's wild. It is excellent. I think this is her best book as far as how elegant and beautiful her writing is. While Wolf of the Woods, the first book in this series, is my favorite, I'm super impressed by this one as well. This Is Where We Talk Things Out is a novella by Caitlyn Marceau. Absolutely amazing. 5 stars. And let me tell you what it's about. After Miller's father dies, she agrees to a girl's vacation away from the city to reconnect with the only family she has left. Although she's eager to make things work, Miller can't help but worry that her mother is seeing their countryside retreat as a fun weekend getaway instead of what it really is, a last-ditch effort to repair their relationship. Unfortunately, that quickly becomes the least of Miller's problems. Sylvie's trapped in the past, and if Miller's not careful, she will be too. A cross between Stephen King's Misery and Stephanie Robel's Darling Rose Gold, This Is Where We Talk Things Out explores the horror of familial trauma, mother-daughter relationships, and what happens when we don't let go. I 100% agree that there are Misery and Darling Rose Gold vibes in this, and I've only seen the movie Misery, but I read Darling Rose Gold, and yes, those vibes are highly present in this book. It is excellent. I absolutely loved it. I should get a physical copy, actually. The next book, The Vile Thing We Created by Robert P. Ottone. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely love this. 5 stars. I want to get a physical copy, but of course, you know, like I don't follow through sometimes with buying the physical copies, but I will do that at some point because I absolutely love this and I want it on my shelves. Lola and Ian had what they thought was the perfect relationship, vacations, fine dining, a healthy sex life, but when their childless lifestyle begins impacting their social lives, they decide to take the natural next step. But what happens when that next step cracks the perfect foundation Lola and Ian have built? What happens when the next step is anything but natural? The Vile Thing We Created is a terrifying vision of parenthood. And the last red book that I'd like to talk about is The Prisoner of Despair by Chad Miller. Now this is one of my more recent reads and it got, yes, you guessed it, a 5-star rating. And I've got another book waiting for me that I may or may not talk about today, but stay tuned if you'd like to hear about that one. This is an excellent book. It kept me on the edge of my seat, but it also kind of took its time as well, in a very good way. Not the, oh my gosh, get on with it way. It moved along, but it took its time. Does that make sense? The year is 1889, and John Doyle spends his nights in terror. He is tormented by his biggest fear, his mortality. In the mysterious city streets, Doyle is on a quest not just for answers, but for his very soul. Along with his partner, Thomas Bram, Doyle investigates mysteries, sightings, and obscurities that fall through the cracks from the local authorities. Doyle seeks to confront the supernatural to prove that his greatest fear is a fallacy. When an established colleague suddenly vanishes, Doyle and Bram embark on the case of their lifetime. As the mystery descends into the depths of darkness, an ominous door opens into the unknown. A shroud of horror looms over Doyle's psyche as his moral compass is put to the test. Will Doyle find refuge in his discovery, or will he be a prisoner of his own despair? Just reading that makes me want to read it again. It is so good. I absolutely loved it. Bravo, Chad Miller. Actually, I lied. There's another book. I also have In the Hills Above the Gristmill by Calvin Ellis. I have this in paperback and on my Kindle because why not, right? It is an excellent book. I talked about it in my last video, so if you are interested in hearing more about it, check that video out. Sorry it's so long, but we gotta keep moving, right? So let me talk about my current read. I am reading As Good as She Gets by Cooper S. Beckett. Now this is kind of a paranormal horror Inspector mystery type story. I think this is the third book in the series, but it works as a standalone. And from what I've seen, some people wish they would have read the first two before reading this. I haven't, and I don't regret it, but I'll probably go back at some point to read the first two. But so far it's interesting. I am not super far in because I've been jumping around like crazy with my reads. I've got a lot of stuff going, but I just wanted to put that out there. Cooper S. Beckett, I think this is something that could appeal to a lot of my friends here on BookTube. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, paranormal, horror, inspector, mystery type, crimey stories, check it out. Okay, as far as my unread books go, I have quite a few, so I'm going to try to fly right through them. I don't know a ton about each of them, but I wanted to put them out there, kind of get them on your radar, and hopefully let the covers intrigue you. So the first one is Dreamweaver by H.D. Scarberry. I'm not sure when this is coming out, and right now, the cover can be seen on her Instagram page. I don't think she has a shareable photo of the cover, but go ahead and check out her Instagram page. I'll link it below so you can see the cover. I am super intrigued, cannot wait to dive in. Just trying to finish up some other reads first, and then I will get to it. I am so excited. She is an excellent writer. I talked a lot about her books in my last video. Next two are stories by Jason A. Jones. He goes by Horror Novel Nut over on Instagram. An Incident with Ghosts and In Bitter Cold. So I'm really excited to dive into those. Also on my more immediate TBR is The Confession by Chad Miller. We talked about Prisoner of Despair. I am super excited to read The Confession. Cannot wait. So this one is set in 1887. A woman comes across her parents brutally hacked to death. Oh my land. And so there's an investigation that unfolds. Gossip and rumors swirl through the tight-knit community. There are secrets. An arrest is made. It's the trial of the century. The story was loosely inspired by the Lizzie Borden murders. So I am super excited to read this. And this is, like I said, on my more immediate TBR because he so graciously sent me an e-copy to read so that I can spread the word for him. So the next one I have on my Kindle is called Anterior Skies Volume 1. It is an anthology, a genre-bending anthology of the weird and cosmic. So I'm super excited to read this. The editor is C.F. Page. He is the author of one of my favorite books, Native Fear. If you haven't checked that out, definitely give it a try. It is a big, long book, but it is excellent, worth every second of your time. Some of the authors that are popping out at me are Marcus Hawk, Samuel Hallam, A.W. Mason. Ooh, this is gonna be so good. Familiar names aside, I am super excited to dive into this one and get to know some new to me authors. I know many of these authors can be recognizable to so many of you, so I definitely recommend checking that out, at least looking into it and seeing if it's something that could be for you. Whiskey Tears is book 3 in the Mercury Hodge series by E.C. Hanson. It is a Western adventure. Mercury Hodge is quite the character. I definitely recommend checking out this series. I can't wait to read this. I wanted to read it a while ago, and for various reasons I haven't gotten to it yet, but it is definitely on my list of books to pursue a little more relentlessly than others. This next book, I absolutely love the title. I adore the author. Everything I've read by him is amazing. I already talked about The Vile Thing We Created, which is another incredible title. I mean, he is the master of titles, let me tell you. So this one is called Wrapped in Plastic and Other Sweet Nothings. I love it. 17 stories claw at you from that dark space in the corner of your eye in this new collection by Bram Stoker award-winning author Robert P. Ottone. He is a riot. Follow him on Instagram if you aren't already, but definitely check this out. I am excited to dive into this as soon as I can. So the next 3 books or so are by Spooky House Press, which is headed up by Robert Ottone. So these are books that were sent because I'm on his like ARC list, and I definitely want to get to them quickly. The first is called Her Teeth Like Waves by Nikki R. Lee. Kat answers the call of the ocean when her twin brother Mitch goes missing after a diving expedition. I will leave it there. We gotta move along. Gotta keep this moving. And that's enough to hook me. The cover is enough to hook me. The title is enough to hook me. So hopefully you're hooked. This next one, I absolutely love the cover and the title. Oh my land. Residents of Honeysuckle Cottage by Elizabeth Davidson. Laura has fled the city for the countryside with her partner Monique and their cat. There she becomes obsessed with a vulnerable young neighbor, Dougal. The couple buy part of a farm building for a bargain price and begin to work to convert it into holiday homes, but the seller's nephew, Dougal, tells them disturbing tales about Wiley, who he believes is watching him. Laura comes to realize there might be more to Wiley, but also believes the nephew is being fed terrifying lies by his aunt in order to control and exploit him. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I can tell already. Once again, title, cover, that tiny little blip of a blurb. Aren't you excited to read it? I am. And the last of the Spooky House Press books that I am eager to read is The Disappearance of Tom Nero by T.J. Price. The disappearance of Tom Nero concerns a young man's investigation into the impossible disappearance of a friend. The story explores themes of contagious and invasive thoughts, disappearances, as well as the relationship between reality and the written word. Now there are blurbs that are much more in depth than what I'm giving you here, so definitely head over to Goodreads or Amazon to check them out so that you can learn a little bit more if you don't like to go into books blind. I personally like to know just a little bit of information, enough to pique my interest, and then I'm good to go. You know what I'm saying? The next 4 are by Damian Casey. We're just gonna run through them. The covers speak volumes, so here we go. The Village of Gil, 28 Days Sassier, so sassy. Coffin Dodger, and Heartburn. The next book that I really want to get to is a vampire tale called Code Red by Regina St. Clair of Regina's Haunted Library. You may recognize that name. She is a big booktuber here, and I am super excited to read this. I've heard great things about this. Horror, vampires, paranormal, ooh, an asylum. Super excited for that one. This next book, I believe I mentioned in my big ebook haul video that I referenced earlier. It is called The Devil's Mountain by Jack Harding. Dylan and Nikki are a young, adventurous British couple who have just one more site to check off their abandoned Berlin list before they head home. Journey with them as they explore the darkened halls and corridors of a Cold War mausoleum caught between the past and the present, frozen in time. Journey with them to the Devil's Mountain, a place that will change their lives forever. So this is 60 pages. Super quick. I need to knock some of these out. Seriously, they've been sitting in my Kindle forever. The next is Arcranium by Mark Towse and Damon Manx. Mark Towse has so many amazing collaborations, and everything I've read by him, whether in collaboration or solo, has been amazing, wonderful. I've loved them. They've gotten under my skin, they've made me laugh, and they really pull at so many different emotions and offer such a great reading experience. So I'm excited to dive into this. 4 horror authors with 4 vulnerable egos square off against one another in the virtual world to find out who is the scariest. Welcome to Arcranium, a powerful technology that fuses with the author's mind to stimulate their best possible creation, immersing other participants in the narrative. It's all in good fun, but with so much pride at stake, things are bound to get a little bumpy once the gloves come off. So strap your headset on and don't forget the safe word. The future of literature is about to get an upgrade. The future is Arcranium. So excited for that one too. So that is 151 pages. Another quick one, but substantial enough to really let you chew on it for a bit, you know? The next is another freebie I received on one of those awesome free Kindle days. I'm not sure if I talked about this in that video I referenced before. It is called Whispers from the Black by Dr. Stuart Knott. There is darkness in the world, darkness in our hearts, and darkness lurking at the very edge of the imagination. But what if that darkness were somehow alive? Another one is Devils That Pray by David Washburn. People have been talking about this nonstop, so I'm going to keep moving. I'm not going to include that one. I Hear the Clattering of the Keys by Jamie Stewart. I love Jamie Stewart's work. This debut collection from Jamie Stewart is a collection of macabre tales where ordinary lives find themselves shattered by forces that lurk on the fringes of existence. I'm excited to read this. I've had this on my Kindle forever, so I really want to dive into it. Everything I've read by Jamie Stewart has been top-notch. Love his work. And of course, Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney. I have that on my Kindle. I do not have Autumn Crow High. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry. But everyone talks about Cameron Chaney's books, and I need to dive in soon. So no explanation needed because everyone talks about it. The next two books are by Tyler Jones. I read the book Almost Ruth by Tyler Jones and absolutely loved it. Gave it a 5-star rating. So these two have been sitting on my Kindle and I need to read them soon. The first is The Dark Side of the Room and the second is Enter Softly. So I am chomping at the bit to read these. These have been on my Kindle so long. I need to start whittling down this list, don't I? The Window by Thomas Gloom. A haunted past, a terrifying future. The present is a battleground for Mark's mind and possibly his life. Mark is a recovered drug addict, but after losing his parents in a freak accident, his life is set on a trajectory that he never would have guessed. Will he fall back into his old ways? Sounds really good. I also have The Valley by Mike Salt on my Kindle. I have Damned to Hell, which I believe is the first in this Linkville horror series. So I won't be reading this until I've read Damned to Hell. And I believe these are also on Kindle Unlimited. This next book I have had on my Kindle for far too long. Again, love this cover. The Curse of the Mountain by Tyler Cram. Death stalks a town, an ancient evil, a long-buried secret. A young officer responding to a call in the middle of the night about chickens being slaughtered turns into a night of reckoning when a deadly creature emerges from the woods. And the last book that I wanted to talk about today is Infection Point. It's a zombie book. I found it. It's free at the moment to purchase. Like, you can own it for free. So if you're interested in that. Don't know how good it's going to be, but it is a quick read from what I remember. And I wanted to read something for Zombie-thon. I haven't been reading anything zombie-like. So I wanted to sneak something real quick in. So hopefully that is good. But I have many, many, many more books on my Kindle that I have talked about in the past, or that I just didn't feel motivated to talk about because I didn't know enough about them or the authors to promote them quite yet. But it was an overwhelming gathering of books. I'm still kind of bummed that some of them are missing, but that's what I have for you today. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day or night. I'd love to hear about some of your favorite indie books. If you haven't mentioned them in the previous video, let me know what you like to add to your Kindle if you're into Kindle reading. I love Kindle Unlimited. I've got a lot of things saved on there. I'm to the max with books saved on there, and once I get through some of these arcs and some of these more urgent reads, I will dive into more of these and the books on my shelves. It's just never ending, isn't it? I will never fully conquer that TBR. Anyway, it's been a hectic week. I am going to chill for the rest of the night. I might not even edit this right away. We will see when this goes up, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the couple of people who requested that I do this after the last video. I kind of put my feelers out, and well, 2 people said, yeah, I want to see it, so here we are. Thank you so much. You know who you are. I hope you have an amazing day or night. Until next time, cheers.